So joining me now in the Focus Gaming News Media booth is Ohad Straschnov, the Senior Compliance Director at Soft2Bet. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
How are you finding SiGMA today?
Absolutely incredible event, as always. Seeing colleagues and peers and meeting new providers and listening to innovators is always impactful and great opportunity to catch up with everyone from the industry.
And what's your overall goals for your time here?
So basically, obviously, Soft2Bet is both a B2C operator and a B2B platform provider, looking to expand to as many markets as possible. So the idea is basically to engage with new providers, to maintain the relationship with the existing providers, speak with regulators such as MGA. There's no better opportunity to sit down face to face with a regulator impactful as the MGA as in the SiGMA event. And I think that the overall impression for the industry of such event is impactful, and the next step of our roadmap is actually can also come from leads that we get here.
And I mean, this is such a general question, but how does a company like Soft2Bet deal with the complex and ever-changing regulatory issues that comes, for iGaming?
So that's a good question, which I get oftenly.
For sure.
I think that the main goal is to have a very flexible and sustainable product, as well as to have a very operative and growing teams in terms of looking forward to the next markets that we're exploring. So for example, if you have a flexible and sustainable platform and product in a specific market, in order to expand to a new market with new cultures, new requirements, and new technical details that need to be implemented, if you can adapt and be flexible fast, the easiest it would be for you. Obviously, for a compliance department, it's always challenging because we need to understand the details, we need to understand the requirements, and unfortunately for the operators in the industry, it differs significantly. But I think that the main goal is to be on top of the requirements, to make sure that you do not only implement what's needed in a specific market, but also be able to adapt it and be flexible to the coming new markets.
So how do you do that? So if you look at markets like Scandinavia or New Jersey, how do you adapt to those ever-changing compliance trends?
So I also referred to it in yesterday's panel. I think the main goal is to have a transparent dialogue with the regulator, and I'll explain why. The main goal for an operator and a provider is to understand the requirement, to understand its internal gaps, to understand what you currently offer in Sweden and Denmark, and see how you can implement it in Brazil and Peru, for example. If you sit down or discuss it with local partners, with local teams on the ground, with the regulator, it will be much easier for you to implement the requirements later on at the stage when you either get a license or you have to certify your platform. So I think the main important thing, at least for us, and I think it's true for the entire industry, is to have a transparent and direct dialogue with the regulators across the world, specifically in territories where the culture is different from what we used to.
Okay. Now, your expansion model allows for swift entry into new markets. How do you achieve that? How do you supply that?
So, like I said, the main goal is to understand where you want to grow. And in order to do it, we work with local partners, we work with regulators, and we make sure that we have providers that understand the technical requirements, that can assist us implement swiftly and fast and quickly the requirements that will come from a new market. I think at the end of the day, it's evidenced in the past a year or so, the markets that we penetrated, which is incredible in my opinion, from my experience. I don't think I've ever seen a company the size of Soft2Bet growing so rapidly. And I think it's self-explanatory, improving itself. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you can adapt. You need to make sure that we're willing to take risks, willing to take chances. You go into markets that are new for you. For example, if you've been operating in the EU, with similarities. You want to expand to Canada, you want to expand to the US, you want to expand to Latin America, you need to make sure that you understand and can accommodate the different cultural requirements.
Okay. And on the subject of gamification, how do you as a company approach that in a responsible way?
So I think that the gamification in itself has a lot of advantages, one of which is actually the responsible gaming, because you can actually monitor and control as a player your gaming in a much more responsible manner. If it's limits, if it's login sessions, if it's the actual number of games that you're allowed to play, the actual hours a day you can play. So I think that what people sometimes fail to understand is that these products not necessarily attract more players, but actually attract players for a more responsible environment, because it allows them not only to play, but to actually control their play.
Now, you've had a pretty eventful 2024. What can you tell us about the plans for 2025?
So big plans, as you know, many already know, we're planning to expand to the US. I think that in terms of the EU markets, Soft2Bet is currently present in most of the regulated European markets, looking towards additional additions such as Spain and expanding in other territories. I think the US will be our main focus, while also looking into Latin America with the recent changes of Brazil and Peru becoming regulated. I think that the entire industry will shift towards this continent, and hopefully more and more countries will become regulated. And you know, we try to accommodate. It's not that every market that is becoming regulated we immediately enter, but I think that we're exploring these opportunities every time that they come.
Excellent. Well, look, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking the time, and I hope you have a fantastic show.
Thank you for having me.